Begin by saying Namaste. It is absolutely my pleasure to be here with you this afternoon in the Vedic heartland, and whatever time it is for you, wherever you are situated in the world. We know that this being the International Sanatana Dharma Society, we do indeed have individuals all over the world watching us live, but then who also will watch the recording of this live stream over the next coming days, next coming weeks. Indeed, we have viewers at this point in approximately 130, 135 nations throughout the world, which is absolutely phenomenal that so many individuals throughout the world have such an interest in Sanatana Dharma. So indeed, again, it is my pleasure to be here with you today. Let me say that what we're going to be doing today is something somewhat special. Today, at least in the United States, in America, it is Mother's Day. And it is a day very specifically to celebrate motherhood and to celebrate being a mother for those individuals out there who are indeed mothers. First of all, happy Mother's Day to you all. And in addition to mentioning Mother's Day, I'm going to be speaking about the qualities of Vedic women. This is something that is of extreme importance. As people know, I very often talk about men's issues. In fact, I did a men's Q&A just a few weeks ago. We released the video of this, just a few days ago, actually. And it's exclusively on Rumble and Odyssey. If you are wondering where that is, you have to go to either our Rumble channel or the Odyssey channel. And you will see the almost hour and a half long Q&A that I had with our male disciples, devotees, etc. But I also indeed address women's issues as well, in addition to men. And in fact, just last Wednesday, I did again at least an hour and a half, maybe more, of questions and answers with many of the women of the ISDS, the International Sanatana Dharma Society. And that was all recorded, and that also will be available as a video probably later this coming week, maybe Thursday, Friday, one of those days. So please keep an eye out for that. And indeed, we will be talking about women's issues today as well. Not so much issues, but this specific topic, and that is the qualities of Vedic women. Now, let me tell you, if you are not a woman, if you are a man, this topic should be as interesting to you as it would be to women. And the reason why is because every man, doesn't matter who you are, doesn't matter, if you're a normative individual, you're married, or you have a girlfriend, certainly you have a mother, whoever you are. I was joking about this earlier with one of my students about how, yes, most of us have had mothers. Of course, if you are alive, you've had a mother. But more than this, it is indeed crucial both for men and women to understand what are considered to be the most essential qualities of what it means to be a woman. So I'll be talking about that. But then in addition, a little bit later, we have several quotes from the Vedas, very specifically, from the Veda Samhitas, in which these verses speak very specifically about motherhood. And I will be quickly commenting on that. So this is our agenda for today. If there is time, then certainly we'll have some questions and answers as well. Please, as always, do not ask your questions until after I signal to you. Otherwise, I will not see your question if you start to ask now. So with that, let me talk a little bit first of all about the nature of the feminine itself. As people know, I wrote an entire book about this called The Shakti Principle. This was one of our first books that came out quite a few years ago, actually. And just to let you know, probably not until much later this year, I intend to expand this book, actually, tremendously. Almost to the point where it might end up being double in size, actually. But I'm going to be expanding this book, so there will be a second edition coming out. And the book itself, of course, is available on dharmacentral.com. But I indeed wrote an entire book talking about feminine nature, but from a purely philosophical, indeed ontological perspective. And that is that for Sanatana Dharma, we have probably, in fact, I'm saying probably actually to be very polite. In actuality, I know that it is indeed the case. We have the most sophisticated understanding of the nature of feminine that exists on the planet and any other planet. And that is this, starting with the highest and then coming down to the terrestrial. Our understanding is that indeed the masculine and the feminine, this natural duality that is meant to be there, is something that is found indeed throughout every single layer of reality, starting with truly the highest spiritually, that is transcendent reality, that is God, but then coming down from God to the everyday life, everyday world, where indeed we see man and woman, masculine and feminine. We see masculine and feminine metaphysically. We see this in language as well, where we have many languages where nouns are either masculine or feminine. Indeed, those are the superior languages, actually, etc. So we see this idea of masculine and feminine all throughout reality. But now, starting with the highest, Sanatana Dharma has a very unique conception of the nature of the Absolute, the likes of which does not exist in any religion upon the face of the earth, either new or old. And that is that we view the divine, and let me make this very clear. When I say the divine, I'm not using this term just in a general sense. That too, but I'm using this indeed when it comes to the idea of divine ontology, i.e., what is that which is the absolute, the summum bonum, that is, what commonly would be called God. When it comes to the concept of God, in Sanatana Dharma, we believe that God is not quote-unquote a man, but then on the other hand, unlike some pseudo-spiritual radical feminists, we don't believe that God is just a woman either. But in actuality, God has a dual nature. That is, God is indeed in the highest God, goddess, what is technically termed Shakti, Shaktiman. And the personalized name for this divine being, who has both masculine and feminine properties, is Shriman Narayana. Shriman designates Lakshmi Devi, who is the highest feminine representation of the divine. And then Narayana is the masculine counterpart. They are eternal consorts. They are inseparable. They are eternally linked. Functionally, they can be seen as two, whereas in actuality, ontologically, they are co-absolute and thus one. This is our conception of, indeed, the absolute, of what commonly is called God. And oh, trust me, I'm giving you barely even a summation, barely even the nutshell version as far as Vedic theology and specifically divine ontology, that is, what is the inner essential nature of God. Again, to go much deeper into this, the Shakti principle is precisely where I speak about this, and that is the purpose of this book, is first and foremost to explain what is the nature of God. That God is Shriman Narayana, that God is both the feminine and the masculine, and while functionally you can see them as separate, in actuality they're one. So with this understanding, we also understand that in the same way that everything that we see around us, everything that is perceptual or conceptual, is actually a reflection of the above, a reflection of the transcendent, this also is true when it comes to this divine ontology of God, Goddess, Shakti, Shaktiman. And this is indeed why, and trust me, I'm skipping many, many steps along the way, because this is not even the purpose of our talk today, actually. But rather, it's just an important, very summarized groundwork that we need to know. What we see is that then when it comes to the human realm, again, skipping many other realms coming down to here, what we now see is that, of course, we have man and woman. And man and woman, when fully and perfectly instantiated in their intrinsic essence, means man, the masculine, woman, the feminine. So thus we see the divine in a way replicated to, of course, an infinitesimally small degree. We see that we also have man and woman here in the material world. So all that being said, what I want to talk about now is very, very specifically the feminine aspects, that is the feminine qualities of Vedic women. And let me make this clear, everything I'm about to tell you, this comes from the Vedic scriptures very specifically. And all of these qualities are qualities that you can find, but they're also a part of Dharma, a part of natural law. So thus, these are intuitively correct as well. This is why these qualities that I'm about to enunciate to you, oh, you find these in many, many different traditions. In Buddhism, indeed, in some aspects of even Abrahamism, etc. So you find this in many, many different traditions. So let's talk about a few of these qualities of Vedic women, of Vedic femininity. And again, this will not include all of them, just a tiny, tiny, tiny number. The first of these is spirituality. Indeed, one thing that it means to be a woman is that a woman must have the quality of being a spiritual individual. Now, of course, and this is true for many of these qualities that I'm going to talk about, many of these apply to men as well. If someone will immediately try to be devil's advocate and say, well, wait a minute, this applies to men as well. Well, yes, of course. These are qualities that apply both to men and women. The reason, however, why they are considered to be especially feminine qualities, these qualities I'm about to speak about, is because they come to their perfect fruition very specifically in the feminine, very specifically in women. So this is the first, is that indeed women are inherently spiritual beings. Now, it's a very interesting thing. Many, many people have noted this, and that is that when you have either men or women who are spiritual, and indeed you can have both, when it comes to especially a household, it tends to be very specifically the woman who is the more spiritual of individuals. The reason why this is the case is because spirituality certainly is something that is philosophical. It certainly is something that is theological. It certainly is something that involves belief, etc., etc. All of these stereotypes, interestingly, of spirituality. That is, that spirituality or even religion is just a matter of belief, which actually it's much more than that. But going deeper, spirituality is also a matter of practice. It is also something that is heartfelt as well. And what people have seen again and again is that especially when it comes to family, that spirituality is something that in a family is especially upheld by the women in the family. Why is this the case? Because spirituality in practice is something that is experienced. It is something that is intuitive. It is something that is heartfelt, etc., and not merely thought. This being the case, it is indeed especially the women of the family who are the individuals who keep spirituality alive. So this is the first quality. Another very, very important quality that is an important quality of Vedic women is strength. Strength is something that is of extreme importance. Now, some people might be surprised that I'm mentioning strength because this is often seen as a male quality. But in actuality, strength is something that is to be exhibited both in women and in men, but in different ways. That's all. You see, men and women, of course, have a lot of commonality between them, but they will exercise different attributes, different qualities, different characteristics, attributes, etc., just in different ways. So when it comes very specifically to women, oh, they also are to possess strength. But it's a different sort of strength. It's not just, oh, the sort of, let's say, brute, outward-going sort of strength that men stereotypically have, but rather it's more of an inner strength. It's the sort of strength of will, strength of character, strength that is there inside the woman, such that she will always endeavor to do the right thing. Now, let me back up for a second before I go on. Let me explain that what I am speaking about specifically is the perfect woman. Not talking about the average woman. I'm not talking about the common woman in any way whatsoever. So when I speak about all of these characteristics, all of these qualities, please keep this in mind. I am talking about a Vedic woman who is a woman who is intelligent, who is wise, who is good, who is indeed above most other women. So please always keep this in mind. Indeed, a true woman is a woman who is meant to be strong. Not in, again, the modern and postmodern senses of this, that is one-upmanship. Oh, I'm stronger than any guy out there. No, not a silly feminist. That's not what we're talking about. What we're talking about is indeed an inner strength such that a good woman, a true woman, a real woman will do everything in her power to always do the right thing. to always be there for her family, to never give up on her faith, to never give up on her people, etc., etc. To always do the right thing. You see, to do the right thing, more than merely knowledge of the right thing, requires strength. It requires strength. And indeed, this is the sort of inner characteristic of being strong that a woman has the ability to cultivate. Now, let's go on. Femininity. Now, this may sound like something that is a given, but today it's not, very sadly. Today it's not. Femininity is something that is essential to what it means to be a woman as much as being masculine is essential to what it means to be a man. Indeed, we're not talking about females and males. Let me make this clear. We're talking about women and men, and there's a difference. And indeed, in several of my very recent talks, I've spoken about this. You have male cats, you have female cats. We're not talking about cats or dogs or any other sort of species or being. We're talking about humans. And when it comes to being human, indeed, we are talking about women and men. So thus, individual human beings who have elevated themselves, or who were even better, born in such an elevated manner, such that they are exhibiting the very highest qualities that is possible among their species as human beings. This is what we're talking about. So now, when it comes to femininity, indeed, a woman, if she is to indeed fulfill who and what she is in her womanhood, is a woman who is meant to be feminine in every way. Now, this is what is unfortunate. Two things are unfortunate. Number one, I will not have enough time to go as deeply into this topic as I wish, just due to time. But also what is unfortunate is the fact that when it comes to femininity and masculinity, nobody, very sadly, knows what this means anymore. Well, most people do intuitively. But people will pretend, at least, that they don't know what these things mean anymore. There is enormous confusion. Well, again, I'm not going to go very deeply into this topic in this live stream. Rather, please watch our previous videos where I talk about the art of manhood, I talk about masculinity, I do the Q&As with men, but also, again, later this week, there is a Q&A that I do with women as well, where I lay out very, very specifically what is meant by femininity. And there is a clear definition of femininity and masculinity. Again, the powers that be want to pretend that these are floating definitions and they don't make sense and no one knows, no one knows. No, we do know, actually. The definitions are clear. Also, when you have a chance, please see the series that we put out. It's so far a 6-part series, but it's continuing, called Curing the Poison of the Kali Yuga. That series is only available on our Rumble channel, our Odyssey channel, and our BitChute channel. Watch that as well, and I go deeply for hours into what is meant by these terms. But indeed, a woman is meant to be feminine in every way. If you don't know what that means, again, watch all of the videos that I just mentioned. Let's go on. Chastity. Chastity is very, very important. If a woman is indeed going to manifest the very best of herself, then she has to exercise chastity. What is meant by this? Very simply, look at the culture today. Look at what is considered, what is called, what is pushed upon us, what is forced upon us as the so-called culture of sleeping around, having multiple sex partners, treating sexuality like it's just a game, like it's just a little tool for our own self-amusement, etc. Look at that, and now turn it right side up. That's what is meant by chastity. In other words, a woman who wants to be a truly Vedic woman does not sleep around, does not have multiple sex partners. And instead, she is chaste, meaning that if she's not married, she's celibate. Meaning that when she is married, when she is in a relationship, that she has loyalty in that relationship, that she is monogamous. There's no such thing as polyamory. That's a made-up word for individuals who are, I'll state it very, very nicely because, we have a nice audience out there. Polyamory is for individuals who have not quite made it to the human level yet, but rather, indeed, we are meant to be monogamous. And what this means is we're not married, we're not in a fully committed relationship, etc., etc. We are celibate. We are fully celibate. We do not engage in any sexual activity whatsoever. We are married. Oh, now we can engage in loving sexual activity, indeed as much as an individual wants, within the confines of that marriage, but only with the person you're married to, period. You don't cheat, you don't commit adultery, etc., etc. So this is what is meant by chastity. Let's go on now. Fidelity. Fidelity simply means faith. Isn't it interesting that so many of these words that I'm using today are words that used to be an integral part of human discourse. It used to be an integral part of conversation, of language. These days, however, you rarely hear these words. Who hears such words as chastity, fidelity? Not very often, but now let's get to fidelity. This means faith. Indeed, this is one of the most important qualities of a Vedic woman. And when we say Vedic woman, no, we mean really, number one, all women who are good, but especially if you consider yourself to be a Vedic woman. That is, if you are a follower of the Vedic tradition, if you are a follower of Sanatana Dharma, if you are a quote-unquote Hindu, etc., then you as a woman are to cultivate all of these qualities. So now, fidelity. This means to have faith. If an individual wants to be a successful and good individual in this world, then this means that they have to cultivate faith. Not blind faith. Again, this is the difference between Sanatana Dharma versus all of the Abrahamic religions. All of the Abrahamic religions are predicated upon blind faith. This is our dogma. This is what we believe. Just believe it. What? It doesn't make sense? Be quiet. Believe it. Well, that's not what we do. We don't believe in blind faith. Actually, we believe in a healthy faith. And what is meant by healthy faith? That something makes sense to you, that it has been explained philosophically, and you have deliberated upon the teachings of Sanatana Dharma, and indeed you can't refute them using all of your brain power. You can't refute them, and you realize, oh yes, this makes sense, but also through your own experience, through witnessing others, whatever is the specific principle that we're speaking about, you have seen that, oh yes, this makes sense, it works, and thus you have faith. Well, what it means to have fidelity is indeed that for a woman, she has faith in God, first and foremost. She has faith indeed in the Vedic scriptures. She has faith in Sanatana Dharma. She has faith in her husband, if her husband is a good man. And if this is a true Vedic woman that we're talking about, she wouldn't be with someone unless it was indeed a good man who she can have faith in. And she has faith in herself. She has faith in herself. Because being an individual, being a woman who indeed has cultivated all of these important qualities that we have spoken about and that we will speak about, she has a healthy faith in herself. No, not egotism, not self-aggrandizement, not, oh, I'm the most important and best person on earth. No, just a healthy faith. She has confidence, a healthy confidence. She has self-esteem. She believes in herself, etc., etc. So again, this stereotype that what it means to be a traditional woman is that you are a woman who is oppressed and you have zero self-esteem, etc. No. Maybe in some other paths that's the case, not in Sanatana Dharma. In Sanatana Dharma, women are encouraged to grow in who they are. And when a woman indeed is a true Vedic woman and following all of these principles, indeed, we as Vedic men, we celebrate our women. So indeed, she is to have fidelity. The next quality is that a Vedic woman is to have loyalty. Loyalty. And again, what does this mean? This means that she has not only trust, but she has allegiance to, affinity toward and allegiance to those things that are of importance in her life. Again, she has loyalty to her religion, which is Sanatana Dharma. She doesn't just give it up at the drop of a hat. She doesn't allow people around her to denigrate Sanatana Dharma without her doing everything she can to defend it or else walk away, etc. She has loyalty to her husband. She has loyalty to her to her family. She has loyalty to her children. She has loyalty to her friends. And what is meant by loyalty? What is meant by loyalty is when you are in the presence of someone who is loyal to you. You are in the presence of someone who you can put your trust in. That you know that, oh, such and such person has my back, first and foremost. Such a person has my back. That no matter what happens, oh, I'm having some problem, I'm having some trouble, etc. This person, unlike many others, will rush to my side and stand next to me like a wall. The person has my back. Loyalty also means that the individual, indeed, again, many of these qualities kind of support one another. It means that the individual has faith in you. So if a woman has loyalty to you, it means she has faith in you. It means she believes in you as a man, etc. But now with that, let's go on. Another very important quality that a Vedic woman has is that she has grace. She has grace in everything that, interestingly, she thinks, everything she says, and everything that she does in this world. And what is meant by grace? What is meant by grace is that she does everything in such a way that she does things with tremendous etiquette. She does things with beauty. And not merely that she is beautiful, she does things in beauty. She walks in beauty, she speaks in beauty, she tries to speak in an eloquent sort of way. She communicates in such a way that those around her feel better about herself and about themselves and not worse. So this is what is meant by grace. So indeed, a woman has grace. And let's go on. Gentleness and tenderness. This is something that is of extreme importance, actually. And let me talk about this especially. And again, I wish I had a lot more time, actually, to talk about all of these qualities. But this is a 1-hour live stream, and indeed we have limited time, and we have a lot to talk about, and I would like to save a little bit of time for questions and answers. But this alone is something I can speak about very, very, very practically. Gentleness and tenderness. Let me speak about this not just on the part of the woman, but on the part of very specifically a couple, that is a man and a woman who are in a loving relationship. Let me tell you something. For those of you who are indeed in relationships now, they can be either, oh, you're a boyfriend and girlfriend, you're engaged, you're married, whatever the specific situation is. You just got married 2 days ago, you've been married for 10 years, and you have children, etc., etc. Let me tell you something interesting from a man's perspective. But women need to know this, and women need to hear this, actually. Indeed, today, especially because we're living in an age of conflict and contention, this is one reason why, I forget the number now, over 50%, I think it might be as much as 70% of marriages in America end up in divorce. In other nations, it's more, actually. In other nations, it's a little bit less. But it is this. For the women out there, let me give you a secret. What your man wants from you are several things, including everything that I mentioned, but one of which is especially important in its own way. A man comes to you indeed because he sees you as a personification of femininity. You see, unless he's a different kind of guy, he doesn't want a masculine woman in his life. He wants a feminine woman. Part of what that means is that he wants a woman who will be tender and gentle with him, interestingly. Oh, you may have a tough guy. You may have a guy who's hyper-masculine and has a job where, oh, he has to go out there and, be really strong, be hard like a rock, etc. But you know what? When he comes home to you, he doesn't want someone who's going to be grouchy, who's going to yell at him, who's going to argue with him, who's going to go into rages, etc., etc. On the contrary, he wants shelter. He wants an oasis. He wants his woman to be someone who is going to treat him with tenderness and kindness, unlike all the other people out there in the world. So this is a very, very important quality that today especially women need to understand. Indeed, this talk that I'm giving today, 50 years ago, would not have been necessary. 50 years, 100 years ago, also depending upon the culture. This talk would not even have been necessary. Everything that I'm talking about today women intuitively, but also through good modeling, having seen their mothers, their aunts, having seen the elder women of society, they would have simply inculcated all of these qualities within themselves naturally, unthinkingly. They wouldn't even have to think about these things. And it's sad that we even have to think about these things today. But indeed, let me explain this to especially the women out there. If you want peace and happiness and contentment in your relationship with your man, be kind to him, be gentle with him, always be tender in every way. And let me tell you, you will have a man who will be loyal to you unto death. Let's go on with just a few more of these. Kind-hearted. This is another very important quality. A woman must be kind-hearted. What does this mean? A woman must have empathy. A woman must be compassionate. A woman must be the sort of woman who, whenever she sees suffering around her, certainly her own family, certainly her own children, certainly her friends, but more than this, very naturally, a kind-hearted woman is the sort of woman who, if she sees someone else's child crying, and she knows that she has to because the mother is engaged very, very busily doing something, she herself will go up and pick up the child and try to soothe the child. When she sees that someone needs help, out of compassion, out of empathy, very naturally, she will do everything in her power to bring happiness to the people around her, whoever she sees. Even if it's just a neighbor, even if it's a semi-stranger, it doesn't have to be just the people closest to her. The people closest to her, that's a given. That's a given that she'll be kind-hearted toward them. But indeed, a good woman, a Vedic woman, should be a woman who has compassion and who has empathy toward all those who are around her. Another very, very important quality that I'm going to speak about is innocence. And I've spoken about this in the past, and I can speak about, again, this quality alone probably for an hour. But this is another very, very important quality that, again, all people should have. But this should be the case especially with a woman, that she should have innocence to her. Now, I always, always, always need to qualify this today. By innocence, I don't mean being naive. I don't mean being unintelligent. I don't mean allowing individuals to take advantage of you. No, indeed, if a person truly understands what is meant by innocence, they understand that a person can have a PhD, they can be someone who is wealthy, they can be someone who, again, they are accomplished in the world, and yet be an innocent personality in who they are. And what is meant by innocence is that, indeed, they approach the world understanding that the environment around us is our friend, not our enemy. Understanding that behind the scenes, behind even the empirical environment that we see, the empirical atmosphere that is here, there is ultimately God. And that being the case, a good woman approaches all reality understanding this and marveling in the wonder of this world and the people of this world, understanding that indeed God is behind all things. So thus approaching the world with tremendous innocence. And again, not naivete, not innocence to the point where people will take advantage of her. On the contrary, within 1.2 seconds that a predator tries to take advantage of her, she shuts him down. And yet she maintains her innocence. That's a true woman. Finally, nurturing. Indeed, this is one of the most important feminine qualities that exists. And this is something that is very specific toward women. Of course, again, like with all of these, some of these can apply to some extent to men as well, but these are inherent to women. So nurturing is one of these qualities that is inherent to women. And it's interesting how, again, today with our culture and our understanding of gender being warped and confused, sometimes people almost find this insulting. Oh, women they're always supposed to be the nurturers. This is a compliment. To nurture means, who are you if you're an individual who is nurturing? Can you hear in the background? I hope you can, actually. Yes, there is a baby who is here. And one of our women, who is not even the baby's mother, actually, interestingly, getting back to what I was saying before about compassion and empathy, etc. One of our women is taking care of this beautiful baby. Nurturing is something that is one of the most important qualities that a human being can have. But what does it say about the nurturing woman? Again, today with all these silly stereotypes, even this beautiful word, nurturing, is seen in the stereotypical sort of way. Oh, it's some unintelligent barefoot woman pregnant in the kitchen, blah, blah, blah. No. To be nurturing as a woman means that you have to be strong. It means that you have to be compassionate. It means that you have to have the intelligence and the wisdom such that when the emotion of nurturing arises in you, you then have to couple that with the actual information of knowing how do I nurture, etc., etc. So in other words, a woman who is a good nurturer is a superior woman, not a fool. And how sad is it that today, when we hear this word, and we have feminists make fun of such thing, oh, they just want women to just baby the men and just be nurturers, and no, we're meant for greater things. There is nothing greater. If you truly have the ability to understand what is meant by nurturing and what an individual needs to be a good nurturer, it means you're a superior person. It means that, again, you are a person who you are strong, you are disciplined, you are compassionate, you are empathetic. It means you have intelligence. It means you have skill. See, to want to nurture is one thing. But then here's the person you're to nurture. Oh, I want to nurture them. Well, what do I do? What does that mean? No, you have to have intelligence and skill, etc. So this is indeed a very, very important quality that women are to either have within them naturally, or today, again, given the fact that unfortunately we're living in a debilitated, warped culture, they need to re-cultivate this within themselves. So all that being said, these are just a few of the important qualities. Needless to say, I could have gone on and on, spoken about dozens and dozens more important qualities of a Vedic woman. But we're going to stop here for now, because now very quickly, and this will be quick actually, I want to read and comment upon 3 verses from the Veda Samhitas that talk about the importance of motherhood. Again, today is Mother's Day, very specifically. And that being the case, we are also celebrating all of the mothers out there. Indeed, as I joked before, almost everyone has a mother. So that being the case, indeed, we are to celebrate our mothers. And the Vedic scriptures speak about this very specifically. And these verses, 3 of them I believe, that I'm going to quote today, are only the tiniest number of hundreds of verses, at least, that speak about the importance of motherhood. Indeed, I know that in the past, I did other live streams where I commented on multiple verses talking about motherhood, and none of them are duplicated here, actually. So there are indeed many, many, many verses that talk about the importance of motherhood. So the first that I want to quote is specifically from Yajurveda, and this is 6:17. And the verse proceeds in this way. O pure and blessed mothers, cleanse us all from sins, immorality, and pollution. Purge us from falsehood, hatred, jealousy, and frustrations. So again, this is from Yajurveda. And what a beautiful verse. And this verse sounds almost like a prayer, doesn't it? There's a reason why. It's because it is a prayer. It is a prayer. This is a prayer to one's mother, and actually to all mothers. So indeed, O pure and blessed mothers. This is speaking to mothers in general. And what is it that the individual is praying for? Well, to cleanse us from all sins, that is, from any faulty characteristics that we ourselves may possess, to free us from immortality, in other words, to bring us to liberation, and to free us from pollution. Now, interestingly, why would an individual pray to mothers to do this? I'll give you a few moments to think about this. We're talking again about the ideal, not the common person on your block right now, which is very sad. No, we're talking about the ideal, the highest ideal. In the highest ideal, a true mother, a good mother, a perfect mother, is an individual who herself is possessed of so many good attributes, qualities, etc., such that she has the ability to give these blessings upon you. You see, you want true blessings from a person, a man, a woman, anyone, a God. You want the blessings of a person who actually has the ability to give blessings unto you. Look for that individual who is virtuous. Because the individual is virtuous, they have a storehouse of good to who they are, such that they can give in abundance to you. So this is literally a prayer to the mother. Purge us from falsehood, from that which is a lie, that which is fake, from hatred, jealousy, and frustrations. These are all self-explanatory. Again, if we had time, I would spend half an hour just talking about this verse, but it's self-explanatory. Let's go on now to the other two verses. The next verse is Rigveda, and this is 8:18:7, and it proceeds in this way. May the pure, life-giving, enlightened woman be respected as mother every day, so that she provides us with peace and eradicates all hatred from the society. Very good. Very good. This says it all. This is our view on women and on womanhood. Indeed, I kind of touched upon this a little bit, but now with this verse, let me speak about this very, very specifically. I've said this many times, indeed, in the Shakti principle. In this book, I mentioned this, in depth. How on the one hand, no, we followers of Sanatana Dharma are not feminists. Any of you who are out there and you think that you're following Vedic culture, you think you're a follower of Sanatana Dharma, you think that you are following Krishna consciousness, that you're a Vaishnava, a Vaishnavi, etc., and you consider yourself to be a quote-unquote feminist, you went wrong somewhere. We are not feminists in any way whatsoever, not in the modern and postmodern sense of that term. Neither first wave, second wave, third wave, or beyond feminists whatsoever, because feminism is atheistic in its absolute intrinsic foundation. We are not feminists. We don't believe that men and women are exactly the same in every way, shape, and form. No, we believe that there is difference. There is a difference between the feminine and the masculine, on the one hand. On the other hand, unlike with Abrahamism, we do not use this as an excuse to then say, well, that means men are superior to women. No, absolutely not. They're just different. They're just different. But we understand all, as men, we understand all of the good qualities that women have, and we celebrate them and we respect them as a result. So thus, indeed, if you were to personally witness, hopefully you are in one, but if you were to personally witness a good Vedic family, a man and a woman who are married, who are together, what you will see are two people who the man is as masculine as he can be, the woman is as feminine as she can be, and they are as close as two human beings can be. They are as close as two human beings can be, and there is nothing but respect from one toward the other. So indeed, we respect women tremendously. Now let's go on to the last verse that we're going to look at, and this is Yajurveda 12:15. If you desire brilliance, approach the mother. With her blessing, be the scholar of all subjects. Do not aggrieve the mother. Enlighten yourself with pure blessings of the noble mother. So very nice. So this is echoing, one could say, the same sentiment as the very first verse, but unlike the first verse, this is not an actual address directly. This is not what's called a vocative, where you are addressing the mother. Rather, this is speaking about the importance of mother. Let's go through this again pretty quickly. If you desire brilliance, who doesn't desire brilliance? And what is meant by brilliance? Of course, when we hear this word today, we tend to think of intelligence alone. Certainly that, if you wish to have light in your mind, if you wish to have a mind that is illuminated, But more than this, if you wish to be brilliant in your countenance, if you wish to be brilliant, that is a being of light in who you are as well, that is spiritually, then you are to approach the mother. In other words, your mother. And truthfully, the principle of motherhood as well. So not just your mother, but any woman who is a mother. This means humans, this means a goddess, this means all the way up to the very highest of goddesses, and that is Lakshmi Devi herself, Sri Lakshmi Devi. You are indeed to approach the mother if you want to cultivate brilliance in who you are. Let's go on. With her blessing, that is the blessing of the mother. So again, confirming what I said earlier, that indeed you need the blessings of a virtuous mother in your life. With her blessing, be the scholar of all subjects. Indeed, it is with the blessing of the mother that we have wisdom, that we have knowledge. Now, this means, again, both spiritually, but also very practically as well. You know, how many people have there been in history? Millions? If you look at all of history, how many people have there been in history who they ended up being brilliant individuals, indeed scholars, great philosophers, great scientists, great whatever, in any way whatsoever. And why? Because their mother was someone who encouraged them. Their mother was someone who at night would read to them. And no, not read, the Three Little Pigs. No, read literature. Indeed, as a mother, let me tell you, you should read great literature, classic literature, to your children. Don't read modern books to them. Modern books for children, for the most part, are garbage. Look to books that are classical literature. And of course, depending on the age of your child, when your child especially reaches a good age where the child can truly comprehend things. When they're like 7, 8, 9, 10 years old. Read the Iliad and the Odyssey to them. Begin to read the Ramayana to them. Read, indeed, classic Western literature as well. Read the adventures of King Arthur to them. Read Swiss Family Robinson to them. Read, again, literature that is over 100 years old to your children. Let me tell you something. If you do this, you have an intelligent child. How many mothers did this with their children over hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and thousands of years? That they would read to their children. They would encourage their children. They would do homework with their children. They would invest confidence, academic confidence in their children. They would expect the very best. They would expect excellence from their children. It was often the mother who did this. It was often the mother who would do this. So indeed, you will be a scholar of all subjects. Do not aggrieve the mother. Treat your mother well. That's what this is saying. Do not aggrieve. Do not make your mother miserable. Do not make her suffer. On the contrary, always be kind and loving to your mother. Enlighten yourself with pure blessings of the noble mother. Beautiful. So 3 beautiful verses of, again, what are really hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of beautiful verses that are found throughout the Vedic scriptures that glorify the mother, that glorify women, etc., etc. So with that, I will indeed end here and again say to all of you mothers who are out there, happy Mother's Day and many, many more to come. And with that, let me signal to everyone that you can please feel free now to ask any pertinent questions that you have regarding Sanatana Dharma or anything that we spoke of today. And we don't have a lot of time, unfortunately. We have a few minutes. Officially, we have about 4, but I might be persuaded to go a little bit over those 4 minutes if I get some good questions from people. Nice. Let me say, here's a nice comment actually from someone. And it is Om Namo Narayanaya says, Mother read to me and helped me with homework a lot when I was very young. Very good. And let me tell you, Om Namo Narayanaya, to say he is a brilliant scholar would be putting it very lightly. I know him personally now. That would be putting it very lightly. So indeed, if you have a mother who will read to you, it is wonderful. Very good. Here's a question from the Swede. Namaste, what is your opinion of Vipassana meditation practices? I have heard many good things about it, but is it a legitimate Vedic meditation? Very good. Yes and no, and let me explain what I mean by that very specifically. When it comes to mindfulness meditation, very generally speaking, that is Vedic. That is indeed Vedic. Indeed, it is found in the yoga literature, etc. A lot of people aren't aware of this, that it was not something that was quote unquote invented in Buddhism. It predates Buddhism by millions of years, and it's actually a Vedic practice. It is, however, not called Vipassana. The exact Sanskrit term, I have to admit, escapes me right now. Last time I came across this was maybe a year ago as I was reading the Sanskrit literature, so I can't remember the exact term, but it is indeed found in pre-Buddhist, that is Vedic scriptures. So it is a Vedic practice. However, again, not under the term Vipassana. And more, what is called Vipassana today and is indeed practiced by really all Buddhists, but especially Theravada Buddhists. I know several Theravada Buddhist monks. And when I say monks, I mean real monks. You know, these are people from Southeast Asia who they were born in this tradition and they practice very, very strictly. Indeed, they practice Theravada Vipassana. That is a little bit different from the traditional Vedic way of practicing mindfulness, to state it in English. But indeed, it is a Vedic practice. So if one were to practice mindfulness meditation, yes, it is a good practice. It is not a practice that will bring about spiritual enlightenment done in and of itself. Rather, it is a good practice for disciplining oneself inwardly and beginning to understand what is the nature of meditation. But as far as gaining actual enlightenment, no, it won't give you enlightenment. For that, you have to positively introduce the spiritual, the transcendent, the eternal, and that is God, Narayana. So I hope that answers the question. Here is a very nice question, actually, that specifically has to do with what we said today, what we spoke about today. And it is, Sri Acharyaji, if women today go through similar pain as Sita, Amba, Draupadi, etc., that was not their fault, how can they pursue peace and maintain their natural femininity in the Kali Yuga? Excellent question. And let me tell you, the answer is not dissimilar to asking the same thing about men. It's actually the same answer. And the reason why I say that is because today, of course, you can say that it's merely women who have gone through traumatic experiences, pain, suffering, rejection, etc., etc., etc. But today, especially in not just the Kali Yuga, but in 2023 and before, so the last several decades, oh my Lord, men and women, because we unfortunately are living in a very, very adharmic age today, and we have for, again, several decades, so many people have gone through suffering that, at least on the surface level, looks like something that they themselves did not cause. Of course, going deeper than merely the surface level, we understand that there is such a thing as karma, that what were the actual causes to what we are now experiencing as the effects, we can't necessarily know. You know, we can't necessarily know. But at the same time, as I always say, it's not enough to merely blame things on karma. No, we have to also deal with the fact that we are experiencing pain today. And for many of us, indeed, we were born, quote unquote, innocent. And in many cases, we were given pain when we didn't deserve it. And again, today especially, this applies to men and women. So let me say, what is the general answer to this in and of itself? It is to do two things. And I'm making this, I'm giving the briefest of summaries, again, only due to time. Number one, we need to acknowledge the pain. Number two, we need to indeed look at the pain and learn our lessons from it. We need to understand, all right, well, this was something that occurred. It seemed that it wasn't something that I caused. I was an innocent victim and some terrible person did something to me, etc., etc. Regardless of our even being innocent, we still have things that we can learn from any pain in our life. any bad thing that has happened to us, we can learn some lesson from. We can derive some sort of wisdom from. We can use as a stepping stone to make ourselves stronger within as a person. So this is the second thing that we must do in addition to acknowledgement. We have to understand, all right, well, what little good can I get out of this? And then understanding that indeed, at least on the surface level, again, karma aside, I didn't do anything to deserve this. Well, I accept that. I accept that, yes, I'm a good person. B, let me learn the lessons that I can from this. Now the third step is indeed to let it go. Now I understand. Trust me. I understand. That's easier said than done. The way that we let go is by introducing into our lives, into our psyche, into our emotional framework even, the very opposite of that pain. We are now to introduce joy, positivity. We are to introduce the real. We are to introduce that which makes us truly happy. And what do I mean by that? Oh, not just anything, not just, whatever we choose, not just chocolate ice cream. No. We are to introduce the spiritual. We are to introduce God. We are to introduce that which indeed gives us relief. And we are to dive deeply into this ocean of spirituality, because that is what ultimately will truly heal us within. We are to be healed spiritually. And this is a process. Just like it's easier to destroy than to create, well, it's easy for one person to abuse another. But then for that person who is abused, for that person to now heal, that takes time. And of course, the more effort we put into it, the less time it takes. But regardless, it takes time. And then finally, as we are going through that healing, we are also, when we are ready and only when we are ready, we are to then take our self-healing and to do everything that we can to also help to heal others. And indeed, that's also the process of healing. That in helping others, in helping to heal others, we also heal ourselves. And that process, even for us, continues. So I hope that answers the question for you. And again, this applies both to men and women equally. Give me a moment here as I look at some more questions. Very good. Here's another nice question that kind of has to do with what we were talking about today, and it is Namaste Shri Acharyaji. I was wondering if there was anything in the Vedic teachings about the importance of virginity before marriage. Let me answer this very forthright. Hundreds of verses, actually, that talk about this. Yes, it is something that is spoken of in really every legitimate spiritual traditions, indeed even one or two or three not very legitimate ones, what to speak of the legitimate ones. So indeed, yes, this is spoken of. That is the ideal. Again, ideally speaking, a person should live their life in such a way that they save sexuality for marriage. Now, this is 2023. Does everyone do this? No, of course not. So we need to have compassion and understand that it is the case that today, the vast majority, and I won't put an actual number on it, there are varying numbers that are out there that I've seen, studies have been done, but let's say the vast majority of individuals, especially in America, especially in the West, sadly, by the time they get married, they're not virgins, they've already had sex, in some cases multiple sexual partners, etc. So what are we to do in such circumstances? Indeed, I want to talk about this very practically, because again, we are living in 2023 and in modernity. Modernity being a word that is synonymous with dysfunction. So we are living in dysfunction, we are living in modernity. This being the case, when we indeed encounter people who, let's say we find someone who, oh my God, the person right now, they're wonderful, they're a good person. We see this as, someone who will be a wonderful partner for me, and I would like to marry this person, but, yes, they've had partners before me. We are to have compassion. We're not to bother them about it. We're not to persecute them about it, especially if we see that their character has changed. That's the important thing. And they realize the mistakes that they've made in the past, they realize these mistakes, and now they, in knowledge that they now have, in now this acquired wisdom that they now have, they want to live a good and a pure and a meaningful life. And indeed, this individual wants to marry me, have indeed all these words, fidelity with me, etc., and be monogamous. In a monogamous relationship, we are to not only forgive them, it's not even a matter of forgiveness, we are to not even mention it. And indeed, embrace that person with love, understanding that people make mistakes, etc. And if this is someone who they have shown themselves to be someone who, oh yes, they wish to be with me for life, then the past is the past. It's a memory. It's a phantasm. It's like fog. It just doesn't even exist. So I hope that answers the question. Very good. Here is a very good question, and I will answer this because, again, it has to do specifically with what we're talking about today. And it is, what advice do you have for women who struggle to have any faith in their self, in themselves? Yeah, very, very, very good question, actually. And indeed, I kind of mentioned this very quickly, again, just due to time. I couldn't go very deeply into any of these important characteristics of women. I tried my best to just give a brief summation of them all. But faith is something that is lacking today on the part of so many people. Indeed, we have a culture today that trains us to have faith in nothing, and most especially in ourselves. See, it's interesting, for all the New Age people who go on and on, love yourself, believe in yourself, etc., etc., what is so sad is that modernity in and of itself, hypocritically, is a culture that teaches us to have faith in nothing. And when you have faith in nothing, that includes yourself. Oh, let's laugh uproariously with all of our pretentiousness at these silly little people who have faith in God, faith in religion, faith in this, faith in that. Well, this is the difficulty with such individuals. When you encourage people to have faith in nothing, this means also, how are they going to have faith in themselves if they can have faith in nothing else? So this is where we find ourselves. So indeed, women have to cultivate faith in themselves, and it has to be a healthy faith. How is this done? First and foremost, by understanding what faith even means. Again, it's so sad. We need to reconstruct reality, because reality has been systematically deprived of us for the last 50 years or more. We need to reconstruct reality now. This is our human project today. Let me tell you the human project of today. It is to reconstruct reality and to restore sanity to our world. Things have been turned upside down. We need to turn them right side up. That includes when it comes to definitions and all of these words that false individuals will claim that they're so confused about. Oh, what do these words even mean? No, they have definitions. You don't know the definition? Come to me, I'll tell you. Read the Vedic scriptures, they'll tell you. The definitions are there. They're written in titanium. They are there. They've always been there. When the skeptics are gone and in their grave, the definitions will still be there and they'll still be correct. They're eternal. We understand what these terms mean. We're not confused. You are? Come to us with sincerity, and we will explain to you what is the nature of reality. When it comes to faith, number one, we have to understand what that term even means. And again, it doesn't mean blind faith. It means recognition of the nature of X thing or person or concept or principle in accordance with one's proximity to that, and repeated demonstration that it is the case over a period of time. That's faith. That's faith. All my life, I've gotten on planes to get to a destination. I get on a plane, the plane takes me to my destination without me finding myself on Mars. Well, I've done it again and again and again. That's been my experience. Now I can have faith. Next month, I'm going to take a plane to New York City. I'm not going to end up on Mars. I can have that faith. See, not blind faith. So first we have to understand what is the definition of faith. Second thing that a woman has to do if she is to have faith in herself is to understand what is that self. So indeed, this is a process that there is no, again, New Age little bumper sticker, little quote that someone can give to an individual. Oh, yes, yes, here, happy quote. All right, now you have faith in yourself. No, this is a process. This is an unfolding that takes work, self-work, that takes time. And what does this mean? It means indeed that you need to look at yourself in a very real way. That indeed you need to do self-analysis. You have to have self-realization. You have to understand what is the nature of that self. This means, both on the surface level, again, when you look at, any faults that you've had in the past, you look at them quickly, you acknowledge them, you derive what lessons you can gain from those bad things that have been there in your past, but then you let them go. But then you go deeper than just the surface level. You look at who and what you truly are as an eternal soul, as a being who, in actuality, as Atman, as a unit of consciousness, has God as your source. That being the case, participating in that divine nature, you too are a being who, in what you are as Atman, are perfect. You are a being who is beautiful. You are a being who is good. You are a being who is wise within. That's temporarily covered right now due to illusion. But if you go deep enough, that's who you are. And when you realize your true self, you realize that you are a being who you cannot but have complete faith in who you are. So it is through a spiritual unfolding that little by little you begin to have faith in yourself. Let me go a little bit deeper than this. You need to begin to have successes and victories in your life. You see, you already have a storehouse of failures, don't you? You have a storehouse of failures, of pains, of traumas. Again, similar to what we were talking about with a different question. Well, now you need to rid that storehouse within yourself of all those negative things and begin to fill that storehouse with victories, even mini victories. Begin to do things that you can celebrate about yourself. They can be small things. They can be bigger things. But begin to build that storehouse of successes. And when we say successes, we don't mean just material success. I don't mean, make $1 million. No, I mean little baby daily victories in your life. And in this way, indeed, little by little, you will cultivate faith in yourself and have a healthy self-faith, self-belief, self-confidence, true self-esteem, in such a way that it will come to the point where you will look at yourself one day and you will indeed have nothing but faith in who you are as a person. And this is the last thing I'm going to say. Now, having become that person who no longer has doubts in yourself, who no longer indeed, in some cases, hate yourself, now that you are no longer that, now that you're the opposite, someone who truly has a healthy faith in yourself, do something good with who you are for others. See, everything that I've said up until that last statement, that's where the New Age stops. Oh yes, have faith in yourself, have self-confidence, blah, 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 and then they stop there. No, a real spirituality goes much further beyond that. And it is now that you are someone who, you now believe in yourself, you quote unquote love yourself. That's just the beginning. Now love others. That's just the beginning. Now give of yourself to help this world. Indeed, cultivate all of these qualities that we spoke about earlier of what it means to be a true woman. And give of yourself to those who are around you in such a way that you become a living blessing upon all who meet you in this world. So indeed, this is how you have faith in yourself. Very good. So given the time, we have indeed gone over time a little bit. So I think we're going to have to stop here, unfortunately. I'm just still looking just to see if maybe there's another question I can answer in 60 seconds or less. Oh, hold on one second. Let me quickly answer this one question. And sadly, this will be the last question that I'll answer. I know that there are others, but again, we're already way over time. And it is Namaste Acharya ji. If someone wants to marry a Vedic woman, then how can he understand a woman, that a woman has all Vedic qualities by her outside behavior? You can't. The answer is you can't. You need to get to know the woman very, very deeply to the point where you know her inner qualities. So indeed, you cannot just kind of quickly scan women and look at indeed their outward behavior, their outward form, etc., and know who that person truly is. This is why all these stupid, mind-numbingly stupid apps where you're dating and swiping and swiping and swiping like an idiot, just looking at the face of a person and thinking that you know them. No. Doing such a thing is pretty much a guarantee that you're not going to have a good relationship with whoever you find. No, you have to get to know a person, and this goes both ways. This is true if a woman is looking for a good man, if a man is looking for a good woman. You need to come to know the individual, and what has to bring you together are values. Values. Not what caste you are. Your caste is meaningless if you don't share the same values. Not what job you have. The fact that you each have a similar sort of career is meaningless if you don't share the same values. So look for someone, let me back up, if you are someone who you have good values. We can't assume that. If you have good values, look for a woman who similarly has good values. And how do you know that? Not just by seeing an image of her, not just, oh yes, what's your favorite movie? No, you get to know the person. And if you have enough wisdom and insight, you can tell pretty quickly if this is someone who herself is just surface level or who is a deep person and who means things, who feels things, who believes things very deeply. So indeed, get to truly know the person. So I hope that answers the question. Very good. So with that, again, we are going to end here because we are a little bit over time. I thank you all very much for being here with me. Let me just say very quickly, let me repeat this, that again, sometime later this week, we will be releasing the video of a Q&A that I had with our Vedic women, speaking of Vedic women, on the ISDS Dharma Nation Discord server. And this occurred last Wednesday, where a good group of women, of our women, the ISDS women, were on there, and they threw many, many wonderful, excellent questions at me, and I did my humble best to answer those questions. We will be releasing that video that is, at least maybe an hour and a half long. Again, maybe Thursday or Friday of this coming week, so please look out for that, etc. And with that, just a few very quick things. If you have not visited our website yet, please do that. It is dharmacentral.com. And when you're there, you will see our books that are available. You'll see a beautiful mantra meditation CD album that is available on there as well. You'll see membership information. If you want to become a tithing, actual, official member of the International Sanatana Dharma Society, you may do so there. If you'd like to donate, just a one-time donation, let's say, to the International Sanatana Dharma Society, you can also do that on our website as well. And I mentioned the Discord server. Indeed, if you have not done so, if you're not on there, you don't know what you're missing. We have a Discord server of hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of devotees who are ISDS devotees. There is conversation that takes place literally 24/7 because we have devotees in at least 70 nations throughout the world. Join that when you have a chance. The link hopefully is there somewhere in the chat. And with that, again, please join us again next Sunday at 2 p.m. Central Time, what we like to call Vedic Heartland Time, for our next live stream. And with that, Namaste. Jaya Shriman Narayana. Jaya Bhagavan Shri Krishna. Jaya Shri Guru. Sanatana Dharma Jayate. Dharma Rashtra Jayate. Suravangsha Jayate. Victory to Sanatana Dharma. Victory to the Dharma nation and the many Dharma nations that are about to appear upon our planet. Victory to the solar dynasty, from whence comes all of the true rulers of our planet, many of whom will soon be manifest for us to see. Evam bhavatu. May such victory be so. And so it shall be. And with that, everyone, between now and the next time that we get together, I ask you all that in every way, you please take very good care of yourselves.